Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show where synchronicity is the star. I'm your host, Alison Pickering. I'm so glad to be here with my co-host from Scandinavia, the adorable and charming Swedish student of the spiritual studies. That is Kefri Skarabus. Welcome, Kefri Skarabus. Thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you, Alison. Nice to be here.
Thank you. This has been a weird couple of days with the internet. There's been some outages worldwide, and so we may look a little blurry and have a little sync problem, but we're going to plow on through. And we had one of those poor people got stuck at the airport and couldn't make the show today, so somebody else stepped up. And let me say how glad I am to have a chance to get to meet this lovely lady who is a jazz lover. I know this because we have shared the experience of doing some jazz cruises together, which is just such a great experience. She is a world traveler and a cruiser. She's the mother of an adult son who just got married recently in a fabulous, wonderful wedding. And for that reason, we did not have a chance to meet on the jazz cruise because she had to give up that cruise to pay for the wedding. And she had to step in today, even though she was suffering from allergies and her nose is all red and her eyes are all swollen. So we're not going to see her little swollen face today, but we're going to really appreciate the lifesaver who is the adorable AUDREY La. Welcome, AUDREY La. Thank you for joining us. Yay.
Hello.
How you doing, AUDREY?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you guys.
It's nice to meet you, and I so
Same.
appreciate your spirit, because I got the notice that our friend had canceled, and he's stuck in some airport or was, and just had to go to sleep because he'd been up for 48 hours. And so I just put out the call in a couple different Facebook groups, and I said, hey, anybody feel like doing something quick right now? Just jump on into our crazy tarot talk show. And AUDREY said yes, even though she's never had a tarot reading before, has seen tarot cards like in a movie or something, but hasn't necessarily worked with them. And so she is a real trooper. And I thank you so much for being here, AUDREY. Where are you located? And has there been anything interesting happening to you spiritually lately that made you say, hey, let's do a reading?
I'm located smack in the middle of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And spiritually, I don't know if I can really say that. I'm not really sure. I'm not a, super believer of different things, but I'm definitely open to everything. And I think everything's open to interpretation.
Wiser words could not be said about the art and science of tarot, shall we say, because it really is about an experience. It really is about interpretation, and it really is about the idea that the meaning is what you bring to it. And if this can help you access your intuition and access bigger parts of yourself, then it's done its job. And so we're going to share some of the internal structures of it just so you can see how it's put together and all that good stuff. This is what we're going to be doing today with you, to you, AUDREY. You have subjected yourself to this. Little do you know what you are in for. Oh my gosh. So we're meeting you briefly right now, and then we're going to pick a focus card. And you already identified one, which is the Tower, which is so adventurous, because even that shows me what a brave spirit you are. And then we're going to make some connections to that. And then we're going to do a 7-card reading, which is, as always, like you say, it's up for interpretation. So we're going to say, for your consideration, is this set of cards. Here's the way I think about it, AUDREY. We kind of move through time horizontally, right? We do our thing and we get old and we do our thing. And then at some point it ends and who knows what happens after that, right? And so that's our horizontal kind of timeline. There are various points along the way where we have the opportunity to stop for a moment and consider something else. Many people use meditation for this. People use prayer for this. People might use an art project for this to kind of get into the flow, whatever the case may be. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're just going to kind of take this moment. throw some cards in this moment. You can see that Kefri entertains himself by shuffling, and so it's getting a good shuffle, definitely. While and they're being influenced by and he's being influenced by this whole experience and by your vibe and all that kind of stuff. Because it's so fascinating the way this can happen with me in California at 2 in the afternoon, and you in New Jersey at 5, and Kefri at 11 in Stockholm. That it still works. If you were in front of me, you'd be picking the cards, but instead Kefri's got the cards and he's going to put them out, but he's shuffling them up, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a crazy thing. So we're going to do the reading for your consideration. Anybody who is watching out there, drop on over to ALISONPickering.com. We've got classes coming up, events coming up, and travel opportunities coming up, as well as community to do this sort of silly stuff and entertain yourself and ourselves with all of this. And so that's what's going on. In tarot, the star of the show is not only synchronicity, but this archetype who is depicted in this card. He's not a person. He's not a he. They are an entity, a larger entity within our consciousness. And this is our attempt to kind of get at the spirit of it. And the spirit of it is that he's willing to get into another set of experiences again. Top row, you could say, is the experiences of your early life. Next row, you could say, is a lot of the experiences of adulthood and how you live your life and the kinds of things you got to go through. And then the bottom row, you could say, represent different states of consciousness that we get as a result of our experiences and of our self-reflection. So you had picked a card, which is, like I said, super adventurous, and that's the Tower card. So let's take a look at that Tower card. And here it is in all its glory. You may know, Audrey, that there is something called the Kabbalistic Tree of Life that is very connected to tarot, and this particular tarot deck and most clone tarot decks that have been done since then, they're built on kind of a connection foundation with the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. That is, I'm going to use a metaphor for it just to kind of get at it tiny bit, like a Jacob's ladder. It's like a ladder back to source. Okay. Jacob's ladder may be complicated. I'm getting it wrong, but let's call it a ladder back. But it's a bunch of states of consciousness, and they're all kind of above where we are in the earth plane, except for the one we're in. And there's 9 more of them. And the energy comes down from the source. So goes the theory, in this weirdo shape, like that particular lightning bolt. So that lightning bolt has that strange shape to reflect the energy coming down through this tree of life that then knocks us out of our ivory tower or our fixed notions or our limited thinking or our whatever, that expression, we make plans and God laughs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's this idea that this is God saying, oh yeah, this is what's really happening. And all of a sudden, those people who were so secure, and it's like the king and his vizier, are getting knocked, and they thought they were in control of everything, that they could see everything, and that was not the case.
I have said that often.
What's that?
I've said that often. I've used that phrase often.
Which phrase?
That you make plans and then God makes plans for you.
Yes, exactly. And so I'm glad that we resonate in that way. And look at the card that you picked to represent this thing that you say so frequently. So so that's a synchronicity, certainly, and shows your affinity already, whether you've ever been exposed to tarot or not, to the kinds of things that are trying to be gotten at with these little pictures. The lady who did the pictures on these, her name was Pamela Coleman Smith, and she was a set designer. She was a theatrical designer back before there were movies, when it was really, really important that whatever was on that set and whatever was painted on that backdrop be really clear. And so they're really designed to be clear around certain notions. And we have about 45 different metaphors in our language for this process. Flip your lid, threw me for a loop, knocked me over. All these kinds of things are meaning this kind of experience. Jack fell down and broke his crown. The crown is also our connection to source as well. Even the monks, they get that shave to kind of even clean up their channel to God. And then the whirling dervishes, they spin on an axis, but then they tilt their head off the axis to get their head out of the channel, to get their ego off the channel. So all kinds of interesting things to be reminded of. All right. So what else, Kefri, might we think of when we look at this particular tower card?
This is a tower moment, as we have been saying, and the secret element for this, or the secret symbol for this, is the mouth, actually. And that could also be that the tower moment often comes when we do a comment to somebody or in some situation, and then we get some reaction on that, and that goes on into a tower moment, we can say. And the planet that is connected to this card is Mars, and Mars is a very warlike planet, and it's a lot about conflicts, can be a lot about struggling, can be a lot about energies that we cannot tackle and direct, actually. And we have been into this, that we make plan, but God makes the final plan, so to say. And also those burning windows in this tower is the highest world in the tree of life, so to speak, that we have been talking about. And that could be a symbol there that this could also be a crisis in fate, actually, that everything is just throwing us out of what we thought was our world and reality, actually. So that is a bit what is in here.
The shocks that we can't control. Even you mentioned the mouth before. It kind of came to mind, the idea of a Freudian slip. And you know how a Freudian slip is the idea. It's when you say one thing, but you mean your mother. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
So, and so the idea that through our mouth slips out an illumination of what's really going on up here. And so the idea of the tower also is a moment of illumination. And after the tower comes the star, but then the moon, where you can't really see. You had that big lightning flash where you could see everything for a second, but then it's dark again, and you have to make your way, and you can't remember everything. And so that's those are some things. Now we have right now, Audrey, you probably noticed that we went into a mode where we went very analytical. We started picking it apart. Look at this piece, that piece, see the shape of his crown, see the color of his thing, see the number of the little we can start picking it apart and being very analytical.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, the power of these cards is in their holistic image, and how that image triggers whatever it triggers in us, or it makes us feel whatever we feel. So when you chose this card, what was it about the card that appealed to you or made you want to explore it today, do you think?
Well, it caught my attention. I quickly kind of scanned the cards that you had on the screen, and the crown really caught my attention, and the lightning bolts, and even like the flames. It was something on the upper part of the card that just really caught my attention.
Thank you. So this could be a moment of illumination. This could represent somebody having a spiritual experience and then having to kind of recalibrate everything based on this new learning. Or it could be the opposite kind of thing, of where you have like a notion where my world is coming apart, and then it's kind of an ego-driven, fear-driven thing where you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Or it could be something like, in the interpretive way, you could say it could even be, let's say, the illness of a loved one or something like that comes as such a big shock, and it immediately changes everything. All the plans you made now change to prioritize this person's health, for example. Those are kinds of things that could be signified with a card like this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you obviously had a notion, and you can see how this can entertain us for a long time, because you scratch it and there's more there and more there and more there. Let's go ahead and get into our next little phase right now. So we had a very brief chance to look at the major arcana, and that's like 1/3 of the tarot deck. The other 2/3 of the tarot deck are these 56 minors, and these are the ancestors of our playing cards. And so you can kind of see that on the left might be the clubs. These are the wands. That's our intuition. That's the one that's connected to the crown. It's as close as we can get. And we can't control our ideas. We don't know where they come from, but we get them. And so that this is our point of contact kind of thing. And then if you're going to carry an idea out, then you're going to go to the hearts suit, which is that cups suit, and you got to care about it enough to invest it with energy.
Mhm.
You can see that knight is very invested in whatever is his quest. And then if you care about it that much, then you're going to probably have to make some plans if you're going to actually see it come to fruition. And so you're going to have to break it down like we were doing with those cards. You're going to have to analyze it, make it kind of linear, make a plan, start to take action. And that's that knight down below. He's ready to go. He's got his idea. He's ready to run. And then, but that's the plan versus what might be the reality. And the reality is that it has to happen in the flesh. And in our flesh, we have 5 senses. That's why we've got that 5-pointed star. We've got our sight and our sound and our smell and our touch and our hearing. And there's one more, our taste. And then there's also the fact that we have to function in time. Here, like that's our horizontal thing, that we have to go through the experiences and go through the changes and live through those years and have a gestation and pregnancy, for example. And then that knight has to guard the field so that those seeds can actually take root, and all of that idea of the time and waiting for the harvest and things like that is all inherent. Let's take a quick look at the wands 1 through 10, and then the court cards with all their fire signs and symbols.
Okay.
The cups with all, yes, question?
No. I just was acknowledging it. Yeah.
And then the cups are very emotional. It's got lots of different colors there because we have lots of different feelings in our emotions. This, by the way, if you can get mastery over your emotions, is really your place of being powerful in this life to start directing your life the way you want it. Because it's about the wants and the desires and being able to channel those somehow using your mental functions. Because we do have some control over those, and we can kill ourselves with those, as you can see.
Mhm.
But we can also really help ourselves and others. It depends on how we manage them, our thoughts. And then finally, the earth, which is also responsibilities and families and houses and mortgages and all that kind of stuff that we have that are a part of life, So those are our cards, and here's the reading that we're going to do with you, Audrey, to be able to just see what now has for us to consider. The top middle is the issue, and then on the bottom we're going to have a timeline that kind of goes from the beginning, the middle, and the end of whatever it is that we're looking. Not the end, but we're just looking at a vignette. We're looking at a flow. On the flow show. And then we're going to then have some advice at the top left. Be cautious about this. And then on the top right, you might want to do this instead for your greatest good. And then after we talk about that stuff for a while, we'll draw another card for some perspective. And that's what the flow is. And so hopefully that's going to be useful. What questions, Audrey, might you have?
I think everybody's curious, including me, of what the future holds for you. So I think that is probably what draws me the most is, okay, can somebody look at with any relativity and say, this is something that may happen in the future?
Well, I'm not going to lay any claim to that because I think that that's kind of not at all to denigrate what you're saying, please. But I just want to say that tarot cards are often seen as a fortune-telling thing, and you can kind of, I suppose, direct them in that way, but there's so much more. And what's being shown deserves perhaps a deeper consideration or a broader consideration than just being predictive.
Mhm.
And then on the other hand, when we're not playing around with them like we are right now for entertainment purposes, like this is, then you can also use it for path work and for psychological and spiritual study. And there's a huge amount there that's not just kind of playing around in fortune telling, so to speak. And it's not. And so what my thing is now is if there's that fortune telling vibe to it, I'm kind of wanting to pull back the proverbial gypsy curtain in the caravan or what is it at the fair, to show you how people do this and what it is that we're working with and how it is that you can also do this for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's jump in, shall we? Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. I am shuffling the card, Audrey, and you can say stop when you want me to stop.
Stop.
There. And do you want to cut the cards, and how many times do you want me to cut them for you?
Can you cut it in thirds?
Yeah, I can do that. 1, 2, 3. And which part do you want to place on the top of the deck?
The middle.
The middle. And then?
The bottom and then the top.
The bottom and the top. Thank you. There we are. And we are going to look at the issue card now. And it is the world card, actually. And we will see that. There we are. And then we go for the past card. And it is the 6 of Cups. And then we go for the present card, and it is the 4 of Pentacles. And we go for the future card, and it is the Hierophant. And then we go for the cautionary card, as we call it, and it is the 4 of Wands. And last but not least this long, we go for the advice card of what is best in this situation. And it is the Queen of Wands. So there we have it.
Well, this is a lot of fun. I'm just going to connect this to what little bit I know, and then Kefri's going to give us the deeper considerations. Kefri, let's go ahead and put up that world card.
Yeah. There we
And
are.
then we're going to have maybe 1 or 2 Hebrew words to consider, because each of the major arcana has a Hebrew letter that it connects to. And you have 2 majors, which is right along the proportions of the 1/3, 2/3 here. And so we'll have 2 letters, and we'll see what they make in Hebrew as part of our consideration. So this isn't our perspective card. This is just to focus on the significator right now, Audrey. And there you are, triumphing after your massive, massive, crazy wedding. Oh my God, it's over now. You can relax. You can put that one to bed. Oh my God. It was a big thing, and you are victorious, and you can feel like you've really shepherded your child all the way through and sent him off into his next incarnation, so to speak, And as there's that expression, a son's a son till he takes a wife, a daughter's a daughter the rest of her life. But your son's always going to be your son, and he's never going to go away, obviously. But you, my dear, have had this on the brain for quite a while, and I think that you can finally put it to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this has also been a learning experience for you. You've seen how much you're capable of. You've had a chance to see your family and other families together, and how do they act, and how are your feelings of cooperation compared to other people. I don't know if you've been engaged in comparison. It's not a great process, but whatever I'm hinting at is really just for me to say that I believe that you can hold your head high at both the family you've raised and created, as well as the way you've managed to achieve this milestone. Because it's a milestone for you as a parent, and for him as a son, and as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a beautiful thing. And what you learned in the process is now ever a part of you. And the reason I mentioned this, Kefri, do you mind taking a look at a different card? I'm just bringing this card in for comparison right now.
Yeah.
Would you put
Yeah.
up the Wheel of Fortune, please?
Yeah.
So notice the corner figures in this card. We had these heads of these different figures. It's the same ones that we're going to see in this wheel. So here's the wheel, which has its ups and downs, and it's got all kinds of symbolism too. But just notice that we've got the fixed signs of the zodiac. So on the bottom, you've got Taurus the bull, and you've got Leo the lion. And then at the top, you've got Scorpio. It's a scorpion, it's a snake, and it's an eagle. All three are symbolic of Scorpio on the right. And then on the left is the angel, the water bearer, Aquarius. And so all of these are in a learning process in this Wheel of Fortune. But by the time you get to the last card in the major arcana cycle, which is that world card number 21, and let's go back and put up that 21 again, please, Kefri. That world card is the one that is now, notice these same four figures, instead of seeing them with their books, we now see them just their heads. And this is representing that whatever was learned in that whole process of the ups and downs are now a part of you. They are in your mind. They are a part of your identity and being, as are you holding now these double wands. And so I think that you can be a proud mother, a proud parent, and now you're contemplating what's next, what's next. And it's legit to want to know the future at this point, because you've been so focused on this moment that just passed. And I don't know if you had much of a vision for what was going to be happening afterwards, other than kind of, the aftermath, and then we'll figure it out. So let's go down and look at that 4 of Pentacles, please. Or let's look at the 6. Let's just go ahead and look at the whole timeline. And Kefri, would you put up the 6? Thank you. Beautiful. So the beautiful children, the beautiful flowers, the ceremony, the having to walk away from the happy couple. Look, do you see the figure having to walk away at the corner there?
Yeah.
To leave them to their own devices, and he's now, your little boy is now a big man.
Yep.
And so, and he's no longer your man. And so I think there's a certain amount of nostalgia perhaps that you might have in terms of your relationship with your son, now that he's taken the wife for real, And so this figure, she's a little bit of an older woman. It's made to look like a small child, but if you look closely, she's an older lady. She's an actress lady who is depicted here, and she always wore white gloves. And so this now there's a bit of a role reversal, because now your son is the big man, and he will be in a position to be your caretaker as well as the father to his children and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a role reversal, but that is freeing for you.
Yes,
definitely. It allows you to receive now. So if you put yourself in that receiving position instead of the walking away position now, and you allow your son to now be the big man, you can now receive from him, as opposed to always having to give. Mm-hmm. So that's a release of a responsibility that you can relax into. And that's good, because what's on your brain right now is this 4 of Pentacles. And Kefri's going to show us that 4 of Pentacles.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
And the Pentacles. There we are. Thank you so much. So now you're recovering.
Yes. Yes.
So you're kind of thinking about, okay, am I going to do a refi? I've been looking at reverse mortgages myself. They're an interesting thing to contemplate. There's real estate is perhaps something to consider here. I wonder if you're considering making a move or something. Is there an empty nest now thing to consider what you're going to do? I don't know. Maybe you're thinking about how you're going to make money. There's something about wanting to structure the finances as that is on the brain right now.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and so as we look to the future then, and just in this card before we move to the future, just, notice that you're hanging on to this with this kinda yin-yang-y thing here. You've got it's like you're holding it very close to your heart. Um, it reminds me of Sicily, that weird, Sicily has like 3 legs coming off it, like the 3 feet of Sicily, and the angle of the arms here is kind of weird in that way. Um, and maybe that means that there is something unnatural about the way you're hanging on to money right now. Maybe you can loosen up a little bit right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the recommendation of the Queen of Wands as well. So just understand that in your current state of mind, you have money on the brain. There's a little bit of square thinking, I wanna say. Notice the crown is very square shaped. We've got the 4. So you might be thinking of doing a real estate loan or something like that, and you might be thinking of some kind of restructuring. I don't know what you're thinking about, but this guy's sitting on a cube. The emperor sits on a cube, and so it looks like you're in the decision-making chair
Mm-hmm.
around money. And
Okay.
you're kind of figure out, how can I make some? What can I do? How can I save it? Blah, blah, blah. And then let's move into that Hierophant figure, that Hierophant figure that's in the future. I think you should talk to somebody. To me, this is about being wise with your money. It's about kind of doing the traditional thing. And that isn't necessarily the recommendation. It just might indicate what you're going to do. It doesn't mean you have to obey what they say, but you should know what they say just to get some viewpoint. So maybe you haven't yet consulted, I don't know, a mortgage broker or a financial advisor, or I don't know, because I don't necessarily do these things myself, I'm sad to say, but perhaps I will in the future as I have more to consider. And with this Hierophant figure, there's the idea of learning more. Maybe you're going to go back to school. Maybe there's something that you want to learn. Maybe there's some kind of expertise that you have that you can now share. Maybe you're going to do a little podcast about mothers of the groom, because rather than mothers of the bride, mothers of the groom often get overlooked, and the groom's role often gets stomped on by these bridezillas. And so how might the mother of the groom have a role that is as dignified and as beautiful as yours was, for example?
Mm-hmm.
And so in any case, the Hierophant to me seems to recommend either you're stepping into a place of authority of your own, and perhaps you've been leaving the decision making to others in the past, but now you want to step into your own authority. Or you want to consult with someone who already has some expertise so that you can get authority of your own and integrate that as well. And then in terms of the recommendation piece, in terms of the Queen of Wands, and also this Hierophant, I wonder if you might start checking out different kinds of gatherings, classes, services, churches. I have a friend, she went to a Baha'i thing. She'd never been Baha'i in her life, but she started connecting to Baha'i, and there was a nice community in her neighborhood. And so that's when she's at her house in Texas, she hangs with the Baha'i people, and she's really happy. So maybe there's some kind of a teaching that is going to be exciting to you. Maybe you want to get another degree or do something, I don't know, learn something or teach something. Queen of Wands, let's look at this recommendation 4. In terms of the recommendation 4, it's recommending you to do whatever you want to do. You have been at everybody else's beck and call all these years, is my feeling. And so it's your turn. And no longer, my dear. Let's go over to the recommendation against. No longer, Audrey, do you have to prioritize this wedding.
Right. Thank God.
And notice that that's also a 4. So you can say, okay, I've put that behind me. The inspiration that this wedding was, or this domination that this wedding was over my entire existence, is now in my past, and I no longer have to give it all the control over me. And so instead of being a 4 of the wands and a 4 of the coins, I'm going to step into both my Pope authority as well as my queenly whatever the fuck I want to do, excuse my language, with that Queen of Wands. I hope you don't mind that I swear in your broadcast.
No, it's fine.
But Kefri, would you put up that queen?
Yeah.
Thank you. And let's take a look at her because she is a multitasker. And I get the feeling that you probably also have a few irons in the fire and you like to do some stuff. And maybe you've got a nice little garden. Maybe you even have a little kitty cat. I don't know. But what's your sign, Audrey, if you don't mind my asking?
A Taurus.
You're a Taurus. And so it's been hard for you to be scrimping and saving and putting on the wedding. Because you like your stuff too, and so it's going to be a chance for you to kind of figure out, all right, now that I've handled that, what do I want to put my mind to? Give yourself that power and privilege, Audrey.
Okay.
Honestly, look forward. So you see that she's not looking at that she's not looking back at that wedding anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She's now looking forward. Looking at her future, at whatever that holds. And it could include a trip to Egypt. Who knows? There's some pyramids kind of hinted at behind there. It could be whatever you want it to be. It could be that you just want to lay around for a few months because it's been very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you want to do, you'll probably do it and learn some stuff. Maybe you'll go to some churches and look around and see, maybe just sit there and see what feels good or whatever. But that's not necessarily the meaning of that Hierophant. I think it's more about your stepping into your own ability to be the boss and not always to defer to other people anymore.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm getting from these cards. I appreciate your considering these words. And of course, you have the recording so you can listen to it again and hear it with different ears at that point. I'm going to hand off to Kefri right now.
Thank you, Alison. I am looking at this wedding also, but I am looking behind it now because there is a circle that has been closed here that you also have been talking about, Alison. And now it is about you, Audrey. And I think that you have something that you want to explore or something that you want to develop, actually. And that is something that is business-like, I think. And you asked us about the future before, and we said that the card cannot really predict anything. But there is something here that there is a new portal opening up for you now, to so to speak, that you can start developing what you dream of and what you want to do, actually.
Okay.
And this is something I think that you have been dreaming about this since you were young, actually. And I think it is about having your own company or having your own business idea that you work with without any employment other than your own employment, actually. So you want to be your own. I feel it like, and it is like the Four of Pentacles there. I feel like you beginning to get the resources to develop this, or if you look into this idea, you will have the resources or the beginning of them, actually, even if it perhaps it's not the right time for the moment to just realize this, because you need to think more about it, actually. And Alison has been into it, that it could be like you are giving courses or something, and I get the feeling that it can have to do with fashion also, actually. And I get the feeling that this idea that you eventually have, or if it will come to you, when you ponder a bit now, when you don't have this wedding to take care of and feel responsibility for, you shouldn't share this with anyone until you feel that it is the right time to realize this, actually. And it is
That sounds
something,
hopeful.
yeah, and I feel like it is something that you will develop, actually, that will be yours, actually. And Alison has already been into this, that it can be sort of a gathering of people or something, and I feel that it could be some form of home parties or something where you show your product, or what it is you are going to sell, so to speak, and offer to people. And that could be done in gatherings, actually. Because I read the Four of Wands there in the cautionary position, that you shouldn't work with this at your own home. You should work with it outside of your own home, actually. And there is two words here also that Alison was saying that I was detecting. And the first word is actually road to perfection. So there is something that you will perfect, and you will develop it by gradually, actually. And the other word is a group of words, and that is note, sign, line, mark, label, and future. And I think that is a brand, actually, that it is about a brand, and that you uh, in some way are going to work with your own brand, or you are going to sell a brand. I think that you will find that you will be offering to people to buy, actually. And I think it will grow into your own brand, actually, with time. It could be that you begin with somebody else from the beginning, but then you can develop it more later, actually. So that is what I can get out of these cards, actually. That and you have the power to do this, actually. And you should not take in any other person in this. You should be your own in this one, and you shouldn't share it with anyone until you feel that you are absolutely ready to do it, actually. Because I don't think you should have other people's advice in this, because they perhaps will not feel like it is a good or positive thing to do that will bear fruit, but you will feel that it will bear fruit, actually, because that is also the Six of Cups in the beginning there, and probably also something that you have been dreaming of when you was younger, actually. It goes back to your childhood in a way, I can feel, with that card. And also that you with time will be a sort of a person that can educate in this field also, and help people to find the right choices in combination with this thing, what is now is, so to speak, but it is some form of brand or product, I think. And I will draw the seventh card now, and that is the King of Swords, actually. So that's there. There we are.
It's in your hands. It's a decision for you to make. This is the one sword we see in the reading. We have everything is wands. Interesting, wands and cups
Huh.
and pentacles. The swords are missing. Okay, so it's the plan. The plan is the thing. So the missing element in this whole formula is the plan, the leader, the decision, the thought process behind it, the mastery. So all of this is. So we have both the Queen of Wands, who is the ultimate idea person,
Mm-hmm.
and the King of Swords, who's the ultimate executor or planner, master planner, shall we say. And and the Hierophant, which is the teacher and the person who can see the underlying unifying principles. So there's an insight into whatever this thing is that if indeed Kefri has identified something that is in your future, at least in your heart of hearts, for something that can be your thing. The Hierophant is demonstrating that you have a unique understanding of it from a higher viewpoint, and perhaps even a responsibility for channeling what that is down. So whatever that knowledge base is, or that uniqueness that is your viewpoint is, you need to validate it.
Mm-hmm.
Energize it with your Queen of Wands, because she's got the ultimate. She's up early. She's like the farm wife. She's like, okay, everybody, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And so that's the Queen of Wands energy, with her little familiars around her and her little minions. But beware, it's about delegation, not sharing. Okay, so it's keep the authority and the secrecy factor. Hold it tight. Play it close to the vest with that 4 of Wands also, because it's worth a lot.
Okay.
And then 4 of Pentacles is what I meant. Thank you. And then with the King of Swords, there's no need to be rigid. If you look at the Queen of Swords, she's in profile, and the sword is straight up. So she's only seeing her side of things, and she's being very staunch. The King has more perspective. We only see the one side with her. Mm-hmm. And she is moving forward. She is decisive. There is no doubt. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's not about decisiveness. It's about wisdom and integration and the mitigating circumstances. So the tilt in the sword is the acknowledgement of everything that isn't your viewpoint and your absolute truth, but rather, let's say, market realities.
Okay.
It's about working out from your feminine character, so to speak, and help other women in a way. And it is about understanding something that they are needing, actually.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's in your hands. The wand is in your hands.
Yeah.
The sword is in your hands. Let's look at that Hierophant.
Yeah. And the Hierophant is also connected to the Taurus star sign, actually. So that is also your vibration, Audrey.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the triple cross. There's a word for that. I just forgot what. A crozier? Is that what it is? In his hand. And on his garment. And he's got the sign of the Trinity in his other hand. And again, this is your opportunity to integrate top to bottom. We were talking the other day about Wang Microsystems, right? Kefri did some work with Wang back in the day, and they had top to bottom integration. And then this Hierophant, the meaning of the Hierophant card is the nail. And so if you think of the horizontal thing, we're going through life, and then we're going to have this vertical moment. The nail is the pivot. And so you have the ability to kind of see this thing top to bottom, and that's the wisdom that you bring to it with that King of Swords energy and the Queen of Wands animation. So you have so much in this. You have the Hierophant authority. You've got the recommendation of bringing in the enthusiasm and leadership of the Queen of Wands. And then you have like this wisdom, perspective, understanding, and comprehensiveness of and let's go ahead and put up that King of Swords again.
Yeah.
And look at the color balance as well. We now have red, yellow, and blue, which is a very powerful creative thing, with the red, with the purple, which is regal. Notice the purple sash on the world figure. You already have that purple You've earned it. And then the things that tie the wreath together, that is now also reflected in the king's cowl on his head, which is that Martian, meaning Mars, strength of energy
Mm-hmm.
about your head, crowned by the gold. And then above you are the butterflies of transformation. And then there are angels who are also sickles, like hammer and sickle, like being able to cut through the madness and the nonsense to get to the truth. So look what a powerful combination you have with the world, with the triumphs behind you, the dreams of your childhood, and these wonderful regal king and queen, as well as the Hierophant is the Merlin or the Pope. Either way, they are the spiritual vessel of the royalty.
Okay.
And
So
the
hats off
mantle
to you, and what?
the mantle of the king, also the purple mantle there, I believe is the brand I was talking about, that you are wrapping yourself in, so to speak.
He's also got orange. He has another orange mantle underneath. And so both of those colors also represent near us on the tree of life are the purple, the orange, and the green. And so all of those are the green is beneath him, and then he has the purple and orange about him, and then the blue, which is this all the way up to the sky kind of thing, you know. So it's very beautiful.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, and it is light also, because the connector between the purple color and the orange color is actually the sun. It's the light if you go in the tree of life. So that is also there. So it's a lot of light. This thing will bring in light to the world, so to speak.
I'm so excited to find out what it is. You probably are too, Audrey. But you may already know.
I think I kind of know. I mean,
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So congratulations in advance. And well, congratulations on your triumph with the wedding. Congratulations in advance on your coming mastery of whatever this new phase is. That's fabulous. And I hope that we have a chance to meet face to face one of these days, not only just in the voice, but in the flesh. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be wonderful.
We'll do it on a Dave Koz cruise. How about that?
Yes, I definitely want to be a world traveler, and that was always like my childhood dream. So I'm trying to fulfill that. And even and I do want to say that when we had the whole pandemic and everybody was stuck at home, I was trying to figure out what to keep myself busy with. So I started working with wire and beads and making jewelry, earrings and necklaces and bracelets and things, and trying to maybe even start my own little business. So that kind of fit right into there.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous. I love
So I think
it.
you hit the nail on the head right there, because that's what I'm continuing trying to do.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing clearance in that.
That's always the payoff for us, you know, because we never know what's happening. We just talk, you know.
But I was sitting here and just kind of like smiling when you were talking about that, going, well, yeah, I've started doing that already. And now this really kind of encourages me more, because I do like to do like design things. And that's what you touched on. Caffrey was for women, and the design and all of that. So I think you were just right on there.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. When I say that we don't know, it's because I say that because Kefri may well know, because he has quite a different kind of approach and a psychic connection perhaps than I do. Mine is, I guess it started out back like I was talking about in the 90s when I was doing it by typing. It's a very linguistic process for me. And so what I do is I kind of just look at these things and start and try to let the language flow and get myself, for the most part, kind of out of the way so that I can let the language flow. And that's, so I don't know until someone kind of flows back to me whether that resonates or not. It's just what I'm inclined to do. Take it or leave it.
For better or for worse, yes.
Well, I will say that in the process, there is a lot of conscious process around use of language. And so I might want to be reckless, or I might see whatever, or my personality may want me to, I don't know, but there is something that both Kefri and I take a responsibility around, which is the use of language, because it's when people are open to a reading and they're vulnerable and they're believing what you're saying, or considering what you're saying more honestly, you know, it's not about belief, it's about consideration. Then you want it to be of value and of worth and of not something that's going to be any time of harm. It's like a Hippocratic oath. You know, you're not going to be. It's very irresponsible to fling negativity about, especially if someone is liable to believe it or swallow it without question. And sometimes, because this can be an emotional process, there's less of a rational filter for people. And so it's even more incumbent on the reader to be responsible and to be considerate of the role,
Absolutely.
and to take care with the words that are used so that they are as supportive and validating of the person and their experience as possible. So that's the way I approach it. So I let it flow, but I let it flow through a template of language discipline.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just let it rip more freely. I don't know.
No, I think that's great that it's in a way kind of filtered, but again, you always want to go, I think, on the positive side
Exactly.
and go through that. I think that's very responsible.
Well, you know, if I said to we went to a group reading at one point, and there was some kid who flounced in, and he was all of 19, wearing like, you know, aqua silk and with an entourage around him. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. So this kid starts like pontificating about the cards, and it was clear that he had memorized the little white book and could just, you know, at will tell you what the little white book said, or whatever the book was, it said. And so like somebody pulled a card and they were in a very vulnerable position. And I was, you know, one of the readers in the room, and he was like, well, you should really go to the doctor. And it was,
Jeez.
and I'm just saying, I mean, you look at the card like that and you got to take care and stuff. And, you know, perhaps that's good advice, but he said it in such, and I felt a very entitled and irresponsible way. And I don't,
Yeah.
and I do not ever want to be either of those things. And so, in a
Exactly.
negative way. So, to use this to negative effect would be it would be a very sad thing for me, because I want to be true to my intent in using it. So,
Mhm.
so
No,
I'll get off my soapbox now, Audrey. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because as I think I had kind of mentioned before, everything's open to interpretation. So, I mean, it's one thing to say, like to me, that, oh, you're going to have this business and, you know, it's going to come to something fruition or whatever, or to even say something like, well, you know, be careful and make choices well, as opposed to someone saying, well, you're going to try this, but you're going to become bankrupt. I mean, there's two different ways of saying things, you know, that,
Exactly,
and you're being
exactly. And God
responsible.
forbid we ever feed something like that to people. People
And
do it as
it's
teachers all the time.
it's very dangerous because it can get into a self-upfilling prophecy, actually. So you have to have a
Absolutely.
lot of responsibility. And
Mhm.
I also have an example, actually, from the real life, because there was a reader once in a group that I was in that wasn't especially good. And that person was reading this Three of Swords for somebody and said, because it was a mother that came for a reading, and there was a child that came up in the reading, and this reader said that, oh, it's blood, sweat and tears for that child. and the mother was totally devastated because
Right.
she was convinced he was going to die, actually. So we had to sit with her for about a half an hour to explain this card. What does it really mean? Because that type of reading of it is not the right reading to give, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nope,
that
it's
is
thoroughly
another,
understandable. Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
that's
You have
another
to
example.
there's a responsibility you have to
Yes.
also it's like there's a difference between honesty and kind honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell everybody everything all the time. Just, I mean, there's this comedian, he has a whole routine on his mother who says horrible things just because it's true. What, you can't handle the truth? You don't like it, it's true. And it's because, yeah, there's a lot of things that are true, but you don't have to fling it in someone's face.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
cruel. It's true that it's cruel to do that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even if it may be honest.
I've adopted that, a long, long time ago, because I really do think that a lot of the truths that are out there are hurtful. So I've definitely kind of learned that, and in working in my business and things like that, how to do
Mm.
that. I think it's very important. So I totally agree.
Well, we wish you all the best on your business. This has been the Crazy Tarot Flow. I
I
don't
don't
know
think
if
it's
you
so
knew what you
crazy.
were up for, but well, I hope it's been a good use of your time because you just went for it. And I so appreciate that. It's such a generous thing to do, to say, yeah, I'll fill your time slot. I'll give you a guest. And so thank you so much.
I always try to help out if I'm able. So this has been great. It's really been eye-opening experience, and now that I can say that I've had reading with tarot cards. So this is great.
There you go. So as they say with for
Mm.
the tarot versions, I hope I was gentle with you, you know.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. This has been a great, great experience. It really has been. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so, so much.
No, thank you
You're
so much for
welcome.
joining us. And at some point in the future, you are more than welcome to come on back. We'd love to hear what updates you might have, or just to do a little follow-up reading and a little chit chat and all that kind of stuff. Maybe by then you'll be feeling better and we can see your face,
Yeah,
and we'll have the
absolutely.
pleasure of enjoying your gestures and your face and all of the good communication that we can have with all of our features intact.
Oh, I would really look forward to that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be great. Kefri, she's gonna be a
Yeah.
welcome guest, is she not?
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. And we want to know more about your jewelry business at that time also.
Yes, 'cause you know me, I'm all about the jewelry, I'm all about the big rocks too, so I hope you got some big rocks in there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm well, I'm gonna be a good customer then, Baudry. All right, everybody, this has been the Tarot Flow. We're gonna go ahead and sign off, and thank you for being here. Take care, Audrey. Stick around. I'm just gonna take us off camera for now as we go out on the show here. So talk to everybody later.
All right. Thank you so
Let's see
much.
if we can get a
Bye-bye.
fade.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.